Welcome back. Political panel time. I want to bring in Deputy Communications Director for the DNC, Hannah Muldavin, and Republican strategist Matt Gorman. Look, we're going to focus on things not related to the war with Iran because there are other things happening in politics right now. Let's start with DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, appeared before a Senate panel today and got some interesting questions. One from John Kennedy, Republican from Louisiana, about money spent for advertisements that feature the DHS Secretary somewhat prominently. Let's listen.
One thing, Senator, I think would be helpful to know is how effective that communications has been. That
they
overwhelmingly
were effective in your name recognition. I'm not saying you're not telling the truth. It's just hard for me to believe, knowing the president, as I do, that you said, Mr. President, here's some ads I've cut, and I'm going to spend $220 million running them, that he would have agreed to that.
Underscore the part where Senator Kennedy says your name recognition boosted. Also, Tom Tillis, Republican senator from North Carolina, not seeking re-election, on another topic, enforcement through ICE. Listen.
And what we've seen is a disaster. Under your leadership, Ms. Noem, a disaster. What we've seen is innocent people getting detained that turn out are American citizens. I could talk about the culture that's been created here with Stephen Miller aiding and abetting. And if I don't get an answer to these questions, I don't want an applause. Please don't do that for me. If I don't get an answer to these questions, if I don't get an answer that you've had a month to respond to, and the remaining ones, as of today, I'll be informing leadership that I'm putting a hold on any en bloc nominations until I get a response. And in 2 weeks, if I don't get a response, I'm going to deny quorum and markup in as many committees as I can until I get a response.
What I find interesting about this, Matt, I want to have you to start on this, is for a cabinet secretary of this administration to come before a Senate panel and get some heat from Republicans is pretty unusual. But Kristi Noem got it today.
Yeah, look, Tom Tillis isn't surprising, right? He's retiring for a reason. But you're right, the Kennedy stuff was surprising. He's not somebody that's thought of as a moderate. He's not somebody a squish or a frequent critic of the administration. So that was something, as I had read later reports, that issue was troubling him a little bit. I'd be curious if that actually stays something that he talks about in the days to come. Now, the Tillis thing is interesting because it also plays into how Trump deals with people that are either retiring or he wants to endorse again. So I know that it played into him endorsing Julia Letlow, but also when he did it, because if he endorses against a sitting senator like Bill Cassidy, does that let Cassidy go off the reservation a little bit? So I think much like Tillis did. So that's something they're factoring in right now as well.
Hannah, your thoughts?
This is a secretary who has overseen the department during a time when Americans witnessed the murder of Alex Preddy and Renee Good. And so it's interesting to see that these Republican senators are standing up saying it was a disaster, your overseeing of this. You know, I think it's also interesting to point out that Donald Trump really was high on immigration when he came into office. It's one of the reasons that he won, right? ICE is now completely underwater. Americans want reforms too. The ICE and federal agency that Noem is overseeing, and I think we see these Republicans step up because they know that Americans don't like what they're seeing and that Noem needs to go.
Matt, to that point that Hannah just raised, do you think that this criticism from these two Senate Republicans is indicative of anything that is suggesting Republicans might be wanting the administration to give a little bit in terms of ICE reforms in order to get DHS funding secured for the rest of this fiscal year?
Here's what I keep coming back to. I think it was a strategic, a win for John Thune to the Democrats agree to a 2-week stopgap about a month and a half ago. And I can't figure out why Democrats agreed to it, candidly. Again, you know, when Alex Preddy was shot, this issue was red hot. It was a national issue in a way that many issues here in Washington break through among normal voters in a way that it doesn't. And by taking it off the table for 2 weeks, again, DHS has been shut down for, 2.5 weeks now? We're really not talking about it. And there's been no real progress on any part. If they had actually held firm when that actually happened, maybe it's in a different place right now. I think there was a fundamental mistake on Schumer's part. And I think it's led down to the fact that this is all happening in the background. And it might come up on hearings, but it's in no way setting the terms of the debate.
Got it. One other thing was announced. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is going to appear voluntarily before the House Oversight Committee. Last week, it conducted a deposition with Hillary Clinton, and there was a moment in that deposition that got a little hot. Let's watch it.
I'm done with this. If you guys are doing that, I am done. You can hold me in contempt from now until the cows come home. This is just typical behavior.
We will go off the record.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
So I would like to understand how that's permissible.
Before the hearing was,
It doesn't matter. We all are abiding by the same rules.
I will take that down.
Yeah,
So I would like to take a break at this moment.
yeah,
and I'd like to have
I'm
a
done
conversation.
for now.
That was about a picture posted by Lauren Boebert, Republican from Colorado, of the deposition before it started. You could see Secretary Clinton deeply displeased about that. Hannah?
By these actions from Lauren Boebert, that this is all a political stunt for these Republicans on the Oversight Committee. We want transparency when it comes to the Epstein files. Democrats have been behind that. Democrats on the committee called for it. The Clintons showed up to their depositions. I think it's time for us to start looking at the Republican Party. We've seen there are a list of names of people that are in the cabinet for Donald Trump, whose names have appeared in the Epstein files. Jamie Raskin said that Donald Trump's name appeared over 1 million times in the Epstein files. We need Republicans and the Trump DOJ to follow the law, release all of the Epstein files, and let's shine light on what this horrible man did and bring justice to the victims. Republicans have been doubtful and not coming forward with that.
And to reiterate, Howard Lutnick, Commerce Secretary, will voluntarily appear before the House Oversight Committee on this matter. Hannah Muldavin, Matt Gorman, thank you very much.